Ex-millionaires of Reddit. What made you lose all your money? My dad is an ex-millionaire. He's a fucking wizard at starting successful businesses. His problem is he can't let them go. He's the boss/owner who never hires a manager that's not family because he just doesn't trust anyone else to run it. He drove $3 million companies into the ground because he couldn't keep up with his own success and refused to hire people to do it for him. If I can ask, what kind of businesses did your dad start? How did he get into starting his first business? I know these are personal questions, but I like learning from successful people. Not sure how he got into starting them, but he started with a pizza place, got to like 3 locations before it swamped on him, and he had to sell to cover his debts, etc. From there he owned some rental properties. They took off, but as he expanded he wasn't able to keep up with maintenance as he was trying to do most of it himself. The buildings fell into disrepair and eventually he had to sell because he couldn't afford the repairs that were necessary. From there he started arguably his most successful business, a driving school. He got to 5 locations. To this day basically anyone in the state over 40 was taught to drive by him or at one of his schools. He hired my mom to help him run things because his books were a mess. They had an affair. This is where I come in. And when my parents broke up my mom left the business and my dad never hired anyone to fill her spot. Fast forward 5 years and he had to sell yet again just to cover his losses. He ended up getting hired at a local company as a manager and worked there until he retired. Wow, that's maddening. Steve Madden. My dad, not me. He made some really shrewd stock market investments after he retired. They were options on an oil refiner at a time when the USA had a real shortage of them. My dad had done a lot of research on this and studied the situation carefully. He got rich to the tune of maybe $2 million. He could have been set for life. My dad was already a really smart guy. He has a PhD in mathematics and was a highly respected big brain professional all the way back into the 1960s. However, he thought this took him to the next level. He bought a lot of newer options in the same company. I suggested to him that he diversify, put a bunch of money into something closer to an annuity or another conservative investment that would give him plenty of income forever. I told him, if he did that, he would always be rich. Well, he is pretty far from that now. I haven't said a thing about that to him since he lost everything. I did what I could at the time to save him from himself. But who was I? It pains me to see how it played out for him. He did a lot of things right in life. He deserved better, but there's no deserve in securities investing. Morals of this story: 1. You aren't an investment genius after your first blockbuster win. You need a track record. 2. Diversify. I can't second this hard enough. My mother-in-law received nearly $1 million in life insurance when my father-in-law passed away. She invested wisely, has lived off the money for the last 20 years, and still has about the same as she did initially. 2008 took about half of it, on paper, but she held on and it basically came right back. 2008 took about half of it, on paper, but she held on and it basically came right back. And this is another big takeaway for people. If you invested in established stocks or funds and something like 2008 or 2020 happens, don't panic and sell off everything. That will only cement your losses. That's the unfortunate reality for a lot of people. So many people sell low and buy high without realizing. Another good piece of advice is regular savings. If you're buying stocks, keep buying at regular intervals. If the market takes a shit, buy a little bit more. If you can afford it, you'll make out like a fat rat on the rebound. Exactly. A market slump is like a discount sale on stocks if you're a long-term investor, which most people are. I have a relative who is a self-made millionaire many times over. He was the hardest working person I've ever known. As soon as he graduated from high school he got his real estate license and became a successful realtor. Within 30 years he opened a successful construction company, a store that sold kitchen cabinets, and owned over 20 rental properties. This wasn't enough for him, and he started renting out his properties to people that would pay him more to grow pot in. His granite company was used to ship the pot across state lines, and now he's sitting in jail facing a minimum of 10 years. The government is coming after all his rentals and money. First freelancer. They're cold bean more with a serious tag. I really wish that the tag wasn't necessary. That's what I was thinking. This question. It's not like there's a non-serious side to it. I watched a guy at a casino somehow get a loan against his house. About 200k and lose it. He looked suicidal. Apparently he was already in almost 50k and thought he could win it back. I got hired there, and I would leave on Friday and return Monday, and see the same people in the same clothes, who pissed and shit themselves, and were still sitting at the blackjack table gambling. People like this are the reason hotel rooms in Vegas are so cheap. Hotels rooms in Vegas are cheap. I thought it would cost a fortune to spend a night there. I stayed in Circus for a week for like $250. Granted, it's Circus. It was still a pretty cool room. Easy parking in the tower out the back near the RV park. Clean rooms. Easy access to drive anywhere. If you have a car, the Circus is fine. Next time though, I'd like to stay in a little bit of luxury. Not me, technically, but my grandma. So a little backstory. My great grandparents owned a luxury fur coat business and made an absolute shitload of money. When my grandma and her brother, my great uncle, had moved out from their parents' house, they were given a sizable amount of money. Not millions, but far more than the average person might get in such a situation, to fund their adulthood. Great uncle ended up opening 2 businesses using this money, a gas station and a used car lot. He made pretty good money running these 2 businesses. We'll get back to him a little bit later in the story. Grandma, however, took this money that was given to her and blew a lot of it on fancy clothes, vacations, etc. She then got married to my grandpa and had 3 kids. And then he ended up cheating on her and took a bunch of her remaining money in the divorce. Meanwhile, great uncle was furthering his business ventures, opening a payphone business, helicopter tours, and all kinds of other shit. He was rolling in money at this point. Sometime later, my great grandparents died. Within months of each other. They then split their inheritance 2 ways, 1/3 of it going to my great uncle, and 2/3 going to my grandma. The argument was that he was a wealthy bachelor with no kids, and she was struggling to get by with a secretary job while raising 3 kids by herself. This ticked off my great uncle quite a bit, since he knew what she had done with her previous huge handout. He was mad about the inheritance not being 50/50, but not something that he'd quit talking to my grandma over. Not yet, anyway. So, what do you think my grandma did with her huge windfall of money? Did she open a business? No. Did she invest it in some way? No. Did she do absolutely anything productive whatsoever? Of fucking course not. The first thing she did was buy a great big house in a nice neighborhood. Actually, no wait. That was the second thing she did. The first thing she did was quit her job. Then, she bought a luxury car. Then came luxury clothes for my mom, aunt and uncle. Then she hired a full-time live-in maid. Then came the vacations to all the hottest vacation spots of the day. Gourmet meals every day. All the toys and gadgets that they could possibly want. You name it, she bought it. So it should come as no surprise that she burned through the entire inheritance in less than a year. 2/3 of the money that her parents had worked their whole lives for. More money than anyone should reasonably ever be able to spend. She blew through in under 12 months. But she kept spending, driving herself into debt. They lost the house, lost the luxury car, and even had to sell all their fancy clothes and toys just to pay the enormous debt she had gained. And then she came to my great uncle's office and asked him for money. She was promptly thrown out by security and was told that he would never speak with her again. And he never did. Imagine my surprise when I grew up in what was basically the borderline of total poverty, and my family tells me that they used to be filthy stinking rich because of what my grandma did. My great uncle more or less cut off contact with her side of the family for years. It wasn't until I was a teenager that I ever met the man. I think later on in his life, he felt bad about punishing the rest of the family when all of the fault lied on my grandma, and he started to talk with us every so often. But we knew to never ask him for anything, even though we were all struggling. When my grandma was on her deathbed, she begged for us to have my great uncle come to the hospital so she could apologize to him. When told about this, his response was basically I don't give a fuck. And then, in an almost ironic twist, he married an obvious gold digger, 30-ish years his junior, who had already survived 2 other dead old rich guys. And then when he died, she got everything, disconnected their phone line, and disappeared like a fucking bandit. His actual family got nothing. TL. Doctor, great-grandparents were rich. Great uncle becomes a successful businessman. Grandma blows every last penny of their inheritance in record time. Great uncle cuts off contact with her after she begs him for money. She dies alone. He dies and has his entire inheritance taken by his gold-digging wife. I'm still poor. Edit. And I wake up to 4,000 upvotes? Holy crap. I need to go through all these messages. Holy shit, this was a roller coaster of a story. That summed it up best. Covered. Built a business that was given a valuation of a few million back in January, but the industry is now down 80% and I'm doing all I can to avoid bankruptcy. That's rough. Mind if I ask which industry? If I had to take a bet, I would guess it's something to do with tourism or malls. Those have been fucked the worst from Covered so far. It could be oil. The company I worked for before Covered went from servicing 140 plus drilling rigs to 15 when I left. Go to r/Wall Street Butts and filter by the loss flare. That sub is on my top 5 list of depressing subs. It's either depressing because you're not the one making 10,000% returns or you see the people losing 99.9%. Either way it's upsetting. It's fun sometimes. I have seen millions lost and millions gained. The retards at Wall Street Butts are just gambling with stock options. Watched a guy make 3 million and lose it all in under a month. I think if something happened and I made $3 million in a day, I would just check out of society completely, buy a small house in the sticks and just relax for the next 40 or 50 years. Maybe buy a tractor and mow some lawns or something. First husband was making $1 million a year. He was enjoying life, spending frivolously, but bringing in enough that it didn't matter. We divorced, but amicably. No alimony, no child support. He just paid for whatever the kids needed. Then he got leukemia. He fought like hell for 3 years. The last 2 years were very expensive. It was worth it. Money won't make you happy, but the lack of it can destroy you. The kids and I can take comfort in knowing that truly there was nothing else possible. His millions bought his kids 2 more years of dad, and I'm glad for him that he enjoyed his life while he could. His millions bought him 2 more years of dad. If you're American, then got him. Fuck our healthcare system. This is heartbreaking. I don't think you need the if. Gambling and spouse terminal illness. I'm sorry. Not me but an acquaintance. He got caught not paying taxes and dealing in stolen goods. He spent time in federal prison and lost everything, including his wife. Crime does not always pay. Wesley Snipes? If only. I work in finance and my team, and I work with all very affluent clients. I've seen so many millionaires lose it all, not from investing in the markets, but from taxes, lifestyle and poor business decisions. Once had a client who was making $50,000 a month, but was spending $60,000 a month and perpetually dipping into his investments. There were months where payments bounced because he was living a lifestyle and always wanted more. My favorite investment advice: same car, same house, same spouse. Love it. Not me. My mom. My grandfather died and left everything to my mom. My father died and left everything to my mom. Mom always thought she was a smart gambler that would win, and as proof she won something like $25,000 in the lottery once, and went out and bought a car. That just got her hooked. Good. When dad was alive, he didn't let her gamble. He kept it under control. After dad died, mom found a boyfriend, a former bookie who was a professional gambler. They used to like going to the Indian casinos where they subsequently squandered every single penny and more, as my sister told me that mom, after selling the big house for another $500,000 and buying a small little condo, has now taken out a home improvement loan against the condo for $50,000 00000. No improvements were ever made. Casinos and lottery tickets. A cool million or two gone. We were close. Then the Great Recession hit. Lost 60% in 3 years. Just updated the balance sheet today. We're almost back. Who knows what will happen in the next 24 to 36 months though. The trick was, don't sell but keep buying. I'm way ahead now. It was real estate. Too much of the mix in real estate. But, we had about 25 awesome years. Put the child through uni. Had some adventures. No big regrets. Do you pick your own equities? Hypothetical millionaire. I bought $100 worth of Bitcoin when they were about $1 each. I sold them when they were about $2.50 each and was so happy I made money from internet coins. As of the moment I'm typing this, those coins would be worth $1.855,000. Yeah, right, and sadly and frustratingly one up this. I have a cool hard 150 BTC to $7 million in a wallet I can't access. I have been trying passwords for years and coming up dry, and the worst part is that the wallet is connected to an old work email account that I can't access. The upswing is the company I worked for, and email that I used is nearing insolvency for non-covered issues, and in fact, should be turning massive profits, but alas, lousy management was the reason I left, as is why they are failing. So soon I will be able to purchase the domain name cheap and set up and email address for password recovery. I'm so excited about this and looking forward to 2021 and diversifying my portfolio if it's still there. Edit. I'm off to bed. I hope you all have a wonderful day and thank you for your support. That's actually exciting. If you can get access to that account again, you are a millionaire. I hope you get them back. Thanks, man. Just thinking about not finding the right password is making me want to vomit. Edit. And I sure as fuck hope everything works out for you. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos.